Good afternoon. My name is Sherry Bailey. Today my video is about communication. So while touring Sentinel City, I noticed many different forms of communication from the officials to the residents. There were both informal and formal forms. The majority of the forms that I saw were formal: billboards, newspapers. A lot of the billboards, the city's scattered with billboards. They're everywhere. There were a few that were about like public health in general. They had one that was about smoking, that you basically saying that you shouldn't smoke. One that was about texting and driving. Let's see. There was another one that was about getting your flu vaccine and just taking your vaccines in general. There was one that promoted a jazz radio station. So that's another form of communication, the radio. There was also a religious one that was saying that if you were pregnant and you needed help, you could, I guess, call them and they would help you. And there was one more about voting, saying that your vote counts. Like I said, there were newspaper stands throughout the city. You couldn't see what the newspaper stands were reporting, but they were there. So that's another formal form of communication. And then, so the informal form is the picketers that you see near City Hall. I would consider this an informal form because although I'm sure there's truth to what they're picketing about, I do think that that's mostly opinion and preference and stuff like that. Also, throughout the city, that was the only real, political party affiliation that I saw. I would assume that those picketers were associated with a certain political party. But that was all that I noticed. Also, another informal form of communication would be like gossip in the city. People, spreading their opinion and stuff like that. So after looking at Sentinel City and noticing all these different forms of communication, you kind of realize how important it is to communicate to the citizens of the city through these ways. Health communication strategies aim to change people's knowledge, attitudes, and or behaviors. There are many ways to educate the public. Like we said, you can do radio, television, newspaper, brochures, and the internet. All of these things are great tools. I have decided to produce a newspaper article about the scenario that we were presented with in the activity, because I think that a newspaper article would be best to educate the adults about the risks of their children, being that I'm aiming the education towards the adults as opposed to the children. So my article would read as follows. Reported E. coli outbreak in school-aged children from multiple neighborhoods. E. coli is a food-borne illness that can be avoided by washing your hands, thoroughly cooking meat, and washing fresh fruits and vegetables under running water. This disease can be characterized by abdominal pain, severe diarrhea, vomiting, and fatigue. If your child reports symptoms, see your healthcare provider immediately. To avoid infection, instruct your children to wash their hands thoroughly throughout the day and keep their hands away from their mouths. So this kind of communication would be most appropriate. So that the parents are not only aware of the situation, but they can also teach their children what to do and what to look out for at home.